JD, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, I had you on. I realized I had you on right before the Penn State game, and then so they won that game, and then they lost to Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana's playing well. Kirsignetti's got that team operating like a well-oiled machine. Very disciplined, very balanced.
Now, let me ask you a question. You saw the college football playoff rankings. How did you feel them at number 9?
I thought that was fair. I mean, Oregon's best win to this point is against 5-3 Northwestern in Evanston. So there isn't a lot of proof, that this is a top 10, top 12 football team. Now, they have an excellent opportunity in November. They've got a game this weekend against a very tough and disciplined number 20 Iowa team in Iowa City. They follow that up at 6 days later. They host Minnesota on a Friday night game on national TV. And if they win those two, that sets up a matchup against number 19 USC on November 22nd in Austin Stadium. They wrap up the season in Seattle against number 23 Washington, who's also 6-2 and playing very well. So they'll have a chance to show that they deserve to be there. But unless they win those 4 games, they're going to the Sun Bowl. And that's just the reality of a very competitive year in college football.
That I agree with you in that respect. So the thing I wanted to what how do you feel about Dante Moore playing so far?
Dante has, let's see, he has 8 career starts this year, 5 as a true freshman at UCLA. So he has 13 career starts. And when he has played well, he's looked terrific. He's looked like a potential number 1 draft pick either this year or next year. But he has struggled against Indiana and then again against Wisconsin, against the blitz, specifically simulated pressures, where the defense shows 6 possibly rushing, but 4 rush and 2 drop off, and you don't know which 4 are rushing. And that's a tough read for a young quarterback. For 2 years, the Ducks had, Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel, and they feasted on teams that blitz. But that's a skill that quarterbacks have to learn. How to exploit a blitz, how to react to the pressure and look for his hot read. And I'm sure they're working on Dante with those concepts. And the hope among Oregon fans is that he'll be a little more poised and prepared against a very good Iowa defense.
Are you worried about the game? The game against Iowa?
Honestly, JD, I worry about every game. I think it's in the nature of longtime Oregon fans and observers to just, look for the black lining in every cloud and to look for ways that it could be a tough game for Oregon. Kirk Herbstreit went on the Pat McAfee show today and said that I was going to win and that he feels like that Kurt Ferentz formula of good defense, great special teams, patience, and discipline is going to be tough for the Ducks on the road in Kinnick Stadium, which is a place where I believe Ferentz is 5-1 in November against the top 10 teams. So now there's another stat that conflicts with that. In the last 5 years, Iowa is 10-1 or 0-11, excuse me, 0-11 against top 25 teams. So, they've been very good and very competitive, and they have a way of kind of taking the air out of the ball and constricting things, which makes them a really tough matchup for anyone. They're physical. They've got a well coached defense run by defensive coordinator Phil Parker, and Oregon just has to be tough, prepared for the cold weather, and out execute an Iowa State team, or excuse me, an Iowa team that thrives itself on execution, and on thrives or prides itself on being, you know, balanced and tough and consistent, and those are things that Oregon's just going to have to overcome.
Do you know the last time that Oregon had a 300-yard passer?
No.
November 23rd, 2019.
Crazy.
Over 70 games.
That is amazing. I think that is in part because they've had a very good offense that entire time. In Nix's last year in 23, they were number 2 in the country in scoring offense, and they're pretty high this year. I think number 6, but they've been a very balanced team. Somehow Oregon has the reputation of being a finesse team that passes the ball all the time, but in fact, they've got a really strong running game that averages 6.5 yards or so a carry. And they're much more physical and fundamental than they're given credit for. They get this reputation as being soft, but it's in no way deserved. They run the football very well, particularly when Jordan Davidson is in the game. Their true freshman running back who's 6 feet tall, 235 pounds. That guy is a bruiser, and he has the ability to be his own blocker and make people miss, get positive yards out of nearly every carry. And I think that's something they'll have to really lean on against Iowa, who doesn't give up a lot of explosive plays.
I wanted to ask you, so your defense, 13 sacks the whole entire season. They're not really getting pressure on the quarterbacks.
It's been frustrating to watch because they have a lot of talent on the defensive line. Uh, Mateo Ungalale and Tatum Tuioti, Bear Alexander, and Amari Washington are all really good physical athletes. They've been tough against the run, and they pressured the quarterback. The pass defense is very good. They rank number 1 in the country in pass defense. They're allowing something like an opponent passer rating of around 89. To give you a sense of what that means, the Dante Moore's passer rating is 171. They've allowed 4 touchdown passes this season against 9 interceptions. But you're absolutely right, JD. They haven't generated a lot of pressure. And a big question in that area is going into the season, we thought Mateo Yu was going to be an incredible pass rusher. I mean, he led the Big Ten in the regular season last year with 10 and a half sacks in the regular season. This year so far, he has just 4. And, he's playing with a lot of effort. He grades out well. He's a warrior. He's tough. He's motivated guy, but he just hasn't finished at the quarterback nearly as often as the Ducks need him to. The hope is that he's going to put together a strong November. Last year against Wisconsin and against Washington in the latter half of the season in November, he had 2 sacks in each one of those games, and he was just a force in every phase of the defense. He intercepted a pass. He batted down passes at the line, and they need him to be dominating at the line of scrimmage in the way that JT Tuimoloau was last year for Ohio State. He's got to assert himself. He's got to be a difference maker and a factor, and he has the ability to do that. He's been projected as an early round draft pick in the NFL if he decides to come out. He's a junior, But yeah, he's got to prove it. Just like the Ducks in November, Mateo has got to prove it.
I was just looking. I was trying to see what the weather is going to be.
The last forecast I saw, JD, was high of 45, 80% chance of rain, with temperatures in the mid 30s uh, as the overnight low. So it's a 3:30 Eastern time kickoff in Iowa City. So toward the end of the game, it's going to be dark and getting cold, and it's going to be wet with wind gusts up to 16 miles an hour. And Oregon did not play well in very difficult conditions against Wisconsin. They won 21-7, but their offense seemed to be really stymied by the weather to a very large degree. And hey, they're in the Big Ten now. This weather is their new normal, right? They've got to
Yeah, it is the.
be prepared to play in those kind of conditions every single year. And now college football goes into December and January. If you want to win, you know, yeah, on the biggest stages, you got to be prepared to win some cold weather games. The first round of the playoffs, if the Ducks are lucky enough to reach it, and lucky enough to own a first round or a first round game at home, they'll have to play on December 20th, the date of the winter solstice. And in Eugene, the typical weather for that time of year on December 20th is somewhere around 43 degrees and raining, or sometimes even snow. And, if you're, they, it's the nature of Oregon football that they get kids from all over the country because the state of Oregon doesn't produce a lot of Division One recruits. So their roster is dotted with players from Southern California, Florida, Texas, Dante Morris from Detroit, Michigan. They've got to be able to play their best and adapt to any kind of weather because that's what they'll see in the Big Ten.
And how do you feel about your kicker? I know.
The punter has been amazing. He's one of the best situational punters I've ever seen. He's had two punts down at the 1 yard line, a punt down at the 4, a punt down at the 9, and he hasn't had a touchback all season. So he's really smart. He's got an educated foot. The field goal kicker, Atticus Sabatin, has good career marks. He's a transfer from Oregon State. And when he was at Oregon State, he missed one kick in 2 years. But for the Ducks, they seem cursed when it comes to kickers. And this is going back a long way. I like to call it the curse of the Maldonado. Since, 2010, 2011, it always seems that Oregon manages to miss a makeable kick in every big game. A 30, 35 yarder, wide right. And it's happened so long that it feels like they need to sacrifice a live rooster or something. I don't even know what the solution is.
Like in Major League, they wouldn't have done make so they gave a thing of chicken.
Exactly. It's been a consistent problem, and they've recruited some very highly rated kickers, but it just doesn't. They don't get the kind of consistency from their field goal unit that you'd like to see them have.
So, how are you feeling honestly about the game? You told me about Herb Street, but I want to hear what Dale Bliss has to say.
I think Oregon. It's a little hard to predict because they've been they've been good and they've been horrid this season. They've had games where, like, how did they manage to win that one? And they've had games where they've been absolutely dominant. I mean, against Rutgers, they had 415 yards rushing and over 700 yards of total offense. And they're capable of exploding like that against anyone, even a very good Iowa defense. I think what's going to happen is with the 14 days to prepare, they've been on a bye. I think the Ducks are going to play a very sound, solid game, and they have the talent to outclass Iowa. Iowa's a good team. I mean, they have the winningest coach in Big Ten history in Kirk Ferentz, and you absolutely have to respect everything that he's accomplished there. But I think Oregon has more talent. And I really feel like that's going to assert itself in this game. And I expect the Oregon offense to produce 24, 27 points and win the game, say 24 to 17.
24-17.
Yeah, the
So
over
Dante
under.
Moore's going to come in last 2 minutes.
I hope it doesn't come down to the last 2 minutes because that increases the effect of the crowd and that very stubborn Iowa defense. But I think the Ducks will be able to hit enough big plays and move the ball well enough to to win the game outright. Uh, Getting off to a good start is really crucial for them.
Right. So, and you felt that this year it's been up and down. Well, it started off well.
It absolutely did. I mean, going 4-0 in September, beating Penn State in the whiteout game. And at the time, that was a great win. I mean, Penn State was ranked, I don't know, either number one or number three in the country at that time. You got 110,000 fans in the stadium and 8 or 9 NFL players on the Penn State roster. That was a big win, but they kind of broke the Nittany Lions. I mean, after that game, they were not the same team. And Oregon doesn't get a lot of credit for having won that game because, they've since had a collapse and fired their coach. But at the time, it was a huge win.
What do you think about the whole James Franklin thing?
I don't like this new trend in college football. I think it's a little insane, to be honest. You've got 14, 15 programs now that have fired their coach. And I think at least 10 of them will come away from that with no better of a coach than the guy they fired. I mean, Penn State took aim at Kurt Signetti. They took aim at Matt Rule, and they missed on both. I don't even know who the leading candidate is now. But you look at Florida and Auburn and Stanford and, all the teams looking for a head coach.
LSU.
LSU, and I mean, one of those teams is going to get Lane Kiffin, or, it might be that he stays at Ole Miss, but the rest of them are going to have to settle for a guy who maybe isn't a whole lot better than the guy they fired. And it's, and the teams are spending $50-55 million to get rid of the old guy, to pay him not to coach. I mean, James Franklin had a pretty strong record at Penn State. He didn't always win the big games, but he won a lot of games and made them competitive. Vatek or Auburn or someone is going to be very lucky to hire him.
It's because I've heard a lot about the coach from James Madison, Bob Chesney.
Yes. He could be the next Signetti. I mean, he's been very good at a lower level, coaches teams that are thoroughly prepared and achieve above their talent. And that's would be a great solution for a bunch of these teams that are looking for a coach. Another guy I think is almost certain to get another job is Manny Diaz at Duke or John Sumrall at Tulane. Those are both
Tulane
candidates. Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein, makes the short list for a lot of jobs, but I don't know if he's completely shown he's ready to run his own program, and he might be better to either stay where he is or take a job like Tulane or UTSA or someplace where that comes available. Now, a lot of teams want Jeff Brom, the coach at Louisville, and Louisville's where Stein played. It's hard to say because Brom could elect to stay at Louisville. But if he
and Brom played there.
Yes.
He played right. He played in
Right, he
Louisville.
played in Louisville.
So, that might be his dream job for all time. It's a little like the situation with Kenny Dillingham. A lot of schools want to hire Dillingham, but, he's an ASU guy and he's committed there and happy there. And his young wife likes it there. I don't think he'll ever move on from the Sun Devils, and I don't think he should. So, then the teams have to move down the list and start thinking about either hiring a coordinator. Brian Hartline is another guy. If someone can pry him out of Ohio State, he's got a lot of talent and a great knowledge of the game.
Well, it's interesting you brought
It's
up
interesting you brought up
Will Stein
Will Stein
because I feel what
because
you
I feel
said
what
going
you
to a
said going to
smaller
a
school
smaller school
where
where
Napier went to
Napier went to
Florida, and
Florida,
I think
and
that
I
was
think
a
that
huge
was a
leap.
huge leap.
JD, now a coach has to be such a skilled administrator. It's more than just coaching X's and O's or giving a good pep talk. He's got to oversee an entire program that is, you know, top notch in every area of development. He's got to hire a good GM to run his program and manage NIL and the portal and all of that. And he's got to hire, really good coordinators and trust them. One of the things that Lanning really excels at is he's a great evaluator of people, and he's made some great hires on his coaching staff. That's why some of his guys are so sought after, for other jobs and new jobs and promotions.
So that's what I was going
That's
to
what I
ask
was
you
going to
about.
ask you about.
So I went to
So I went to
UNC.
UNC.
We Belichick goes
Belichick
there,
goes
and it
there, and it
boom.
boom.
That that turned out to be a miserable situation, didn't it? Although they had a nice win this last weekend, it really looks like maybe his girlfriend's a little too involved. Maybe he had unrealistic expectations about how easy it would be making the transition to the college level. But it's a new game now. With NIL and the portal, the kids have choice about where they go. They can up and move if they're not getting playing time or aren't satisfied in their coaching relationship. So it's
Did
Did
there has
did you
never
see?
Did you
been.
see?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Finish what you're saying.
Finish what you say.
Oh, I was just going to say there has never been so much parity in college football. It is scary how every week is a dogfight, and anybody has the talent to beat you. Other than that lowest fifth of teams, that's maybe a little disorganized and hopeless. Everybody else has talent, and nearly everyone else has a quarterback and great players at the skill positions and some some top line players on defense. And you didn't used to get that. You used to get 4 or 5 games a year where you knew you were going to win. It's not that way anymore.
Did
Did
something stay with me
something stay
about what
with
you
me
said
about
about
what you
Dan
said about
Lanning?
Dan Lanning?
That it's not just
It's
this
not
year.
just
He's
this
looking
year.
to
He's looking
build.
to build.
It's a
It's a
long-term
long-term
foundation.
foundation.
Absolutely. I think, like all good coaches, he has a long term plan for his school, a vision for the type of program he wants to build, the qualities he wants to develop in his people. And he's very consistent in how he applies that, how he teaches. Every week he has a kind of a theme that he introduces. And we get a great glimpse through a series that the Oregon Video Department does called Ducks versus Them, where you get sort of an inside look on what he's teaching and telling the players the week of the game, how he wants them to think about football. And that's something you don't get from every coach.
Did you? I had sent you some
I had
questions
sent you
from my
some questions from
friend
my friend
about sports
about
events. Did you
sports
happen to look
events.
that
Did you happen to look
over?
that over?
I did.
Is that your
Is that your
wheelhouse or no?
wheelhouse or no?
You know, I have some knowledge of it and definitely some interest in it. I think that's an area where Oregon really excels. They're building a new state of the art $140 million indoor practice facility for the football team, and the existing facilities are going to be turned over to other programs. It is beautiful. It's comprehensive. It has every bell and whistle a team would need to develop. You know, it's and the thing is just huge. I mean, it's like a spaceship. It's just it's really phenomenal. And obviously the driving force behind that part of the facilities supremacy has been Phil Knight, who's been very generous with the school.
So that's what I was
So
asking
that's
you.
what I
So
was
he is
asking.
a
So he
huge
is a
part.
huge part.
He doesn't interfere in the decision making or day-to-day operations. Like he's not one to veto a coaching hire or anything like that. But he is very involved, very enthusiastic, very passionate about Oregon sports, and he'll most times as not he'll be in a the press box or a booth for an Oregon game, and one of the privileges he has as the granddaddy donor is that he's on the headset with the coaches and gets to listen into the calls and so forth.
Oh, so you've heard about
You've
the
heard about the
Ursay's daughter took
Ursay's daughter
over
took
the
over
Colts,
the Colts,
and she is
and she
on her
is on her
headphones every.
headphones every.
Yeah, and I think that level of involvement can be really healthy as long as the person who has that role has that kind of influence allows the coaches to do their jobs and you know, knows how to delegate and trust. And certainly Mr. Knight knows how to do that. He built a multi-billion dollar company. He understands you hire good people and then trust them. And I think that's the kind of the guiding principle with the Ducks.
So let me ask you
So let
another
me ask you another
question.
question.
Who could be the
Who could be
difference
the
maker
difference maker
on Saturday?
on Saturday?
A running
A
back,
running back,
wide receiver.
wide receiver.
Who's going?
Who's going?
The first person I would point to is Davison, excuse me. Uh, Ohio State defense, one of the toughest in the country against the run. They allow something like 2.64 yards a carry. But Penn State, in their 25-24 loss against Iowa, ran the ball really well. I think they had about 176 yards. And I think Oregon's in a decent position to duplicate that. They have a little more balance than the Nittany Lions did with Grunkmeyer at quarterback, which, a pretty tough assignment for him. So if Oregon can run for, let's say, 150, 180 yards and have some balance on offense, I think they have a good chance to win. And that all starts with Davison being effective in the run game.
Okay, my
Okay,
friend Tony
my
had a
friend
very
Tony had a
interesting
very
question to
interesting
ask you.
question to ask you.
He said, "I'm
He said,
curious
"I'm
about the
curious about
vibe
the
in the Ducks
vibe in the
community.
Ducks community.
Ducks community.
Ducks community.
With the
With
money
the
that you
money that
have,
you have,
are you expecting
are you
more from the
expecting more from
team?
the
Are they
team?
happy
Are
at
they
number
happy at number
9,
9,
or do they expect
or
like
do
a
they
top
expect like a
3?"
top 3?
It's not one thing that I think most people don't get about this college playoff committee and the playoff, or excuse me, the poll reveal show every week is that it's all just window dressing. It's all a hype show for the college football playoff until the last playoff committee reveal in December on December 7th. That's the day that will live in infamy. That's the day where it matters. All of this stuff is just publicity. Yeah, the committee in the past has shown a willingness to change their mind about the seating, to move teams up and down, even to exclude. Remember when Florida State was left out of the Final Four, after completing a 13-0 season because Jordan Travis got injured? And that really wasn't fair to the Seminoles. They elevated Alabama, at the last hour. Uh, and obviously Florida State earned the right to be there. And there are some injustices or discrepancies in what we see in this first top 25. I mean, Notre Dame is at number 10, and Miami, a team that beat them, is, something like 20, 21 or 22.
18.
18. Okay.
18.
They have the same record, and Miami beat them head to head. Now, admittedly, the Canes don't look like they're headed in the right direction at this point, but there's a certain amount of subjectivity, reputation. What have you done for me lately in these rankings? And November is going to sort it out. I mean, I look at the schedule, and the Ducks have those 4 tough games that we talked about, but they're not the only ones. BYU travels to Texas Tech this weekend. One of those teams is going to lose. Currently, they rank number 7 and number 8. Going down the schedule, we've got Texas and Georgia on November 15th. Either way, that's going to impact the rankings. And, if Texas loses, they maybe drop out of that top 12 sweet spot. Another factor in all this that we don't see yet, but will certainly rear its head, is that the group of 5 gets an automatic bid. Best group of 5 gets an automatic bid. All 5 conference champions get into the pool. So these teams at number 11 and number 12, or even number 9 like the Ducks, they're a little bit vulnerable. They can get bumped. And, a lot of this teams
But
just have
now, but I want to ask you a quick question. I just wanted to ask you one thing. I didn't mean to cut you off, Dale.
no problem. What were you going to ask?
But are the fans happy with where they are right now?
I think they're smart
Like,
enough.
what was the expectations, I guess?
The expectation going into the season was something around 10-2 and make the playoffs. At this point, it's not certain that 10-2 will make the playoffs, because the way it's worked out, the resume isn't that strong. If they lose 2 games in November, or excuse me, another game in November, if they lose 2, they're out at 9-3. But if they lose another game in November at 10-2, they're in really strong danger of being bumped out by USC or Washington or someone else in that top 15 or 16. So they've got to win the rest, I think, to be sure of a playoff game, and most importantly, to get a home playoff game. At 11-1, they're certainly in a very good position, but they've got to prove it. And I think Duck fans are smart enough to realize that where you are now, whether the ranking is 9 or 6 or 15 at this point, it isn't what matters. What matters is taking care of business against Iowa, taking care of business against Minnesota, and finishing the season strong. If at the end of the season they're 9-3 and going to the Sun Bowl, or 8-4 and going to the Cheez-It Bowl, then fans aren't going to be happy. They're going to be frustrated. I think that Oregon fans they're sold on Dan Lanning, and they know that this is a young team and this is a step in their development. So however this comes out, they will adjust their expectations and move on to the next season and what's going to be a very good Oregon basketball team. But
I wanted to get to that too. I want to get to basketball with you too.
All right. But the expectation the expectation is to make the playoffs. And if they don't make the playoffs, well, there'll be some disappointment. I don't think they'll deal with that disappointment in the rash way that fans did at Florida, LSU, or Penn State.
I'll be honest with you. I'm more concerned about the Washington game than I am Iowa. That is a trap game. Bad weather, a lot of things could be factors.
Yep. JD, I agree with you. And the Huskies have played very well this year. They're 6-2. They've got a dynamic quarterback in Damon Williams, a really good running back in Jonah Coleman, one of the best receivers in the Big Ten in Denzel Boston. I mean, that's a team that can be tough for anybody. And, playing them in Seattle, a very tough place to play, Husky Stadium, at the end of the year where it's going to be cold and wet and windy again. Yeah, that's a game to be concerned about. The Ducks themselves can't be that worried about it right now. They've got all they can handle with Iowa on Saturday.
I got a question for you. You went to the Portland Thorns game?
I did with
The
my wife.
Playoff game?
I did. It was my
Was it the playoff game?
no. It was the last game of the regular season, but they're in the playoffs. My wife.
Quarterfinals on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. But my wife is a big Thorns fan, and I was searching around for what am I going to get her for her birthday. I mean, she buys everything that she wants. I mean, what could I possibly get her? And I wanted it to be a little bit special, and I wanted it to be a date. So we went to the Thorns, and we had a great time. We had seats right up next to the field, and the crowd was terrific, and the weather was mild, and it was really an enjoyable day.
So it was packed, right? I mean, they fill out. They fill up, right?
They do, and they've renovated that stadium. Civic Stadium's been around for a long time. They don't call it that anymore. It's named after a corporate sponsor, but they really changed the layout of it for soccer, and it's a great soccer venue now. The fans are right on top of the stadium, and they're raucous and enthusiastic, and just a terrific atmosphere, a lot of fun.
Okay, so I did a little research.
Your basketball team is
Men's
men's
fifth in the nation, correct?
Correct.
Preseason. Oh, in the Big Ten. I'm sorry, Big Ten.
Big Ten.
Okay.
My bad.
Yeah. Uh, Most of the polls and predictions that I've seen have them as a tournament team, a 23, 24 win team. But they had their season opener Tuesday night against Hawaii. They had a couple of exhibition games before that. And they're definitely a work in progress. Dana Altman over the years has excelled at taking a group of diverse elements and a lot of length and athleticism and turning it into a functioning team. But this year in particular, they've got some things to work out. They're starting their best shooting guard, Jackson Shelstad, is out with a broken hand. He'll return to the team probably in 2 or 3 weeks. And in the meantime, they really look ragged. I mean, they had 22 turnovers the other night, which, is just miserable. And they're not shooting well. They were 2 of 16 from 3-point range. They just have some things to work out. They just have to become a more cohesive team. When it came to the turnovers, a lot of them were in the nature of guys just not having played together a lot, so they weren't anticipating each other. The forward or the center would cut to the basket when the pass went as if he was going to pop out, and so it went sails out of bounds. So they had a lot of plays like that where they just weren't in sync. And with some time in the film room and some time in practice, Altman will work some of that out. Friday night they have a home game against Rice, and hopefully we'll see some progress and a little more organization from them. Their transfer guard TK Simpkins from Elon had 18 points. He was a real highlight in the game. 7 of 12 shooting with some nice drives to the basket, including a floater at the end to make a layup and win the game with 3 seconds to play. Should not have been that close against Hawaii, but at least they won the game and showed some signs of progress.
There's also a Kwame.
Evans, 5-star recruit,
and they're expecting a lot from him this year.
Kwame Evans is a junior from Baltimore, Maryland. He's 6'10", a forward, a former McDonald's All-American, and yeah, he elected to come back rather than go to the NBA, and he really looks good with an extra year of development. You know, a big guy who can shoot the three, rebound, defend, a lot of length. He went down in the game, slipped to the floor, and was holding his knee and had to be helped off the floor and wasn't putting any weight on the knee. Now, I have not yet heard an update on his status, but if he is out for any length of time, that would be a huge loss for the Ducks because he's so versatile and so active and can help solidify them in a lot of
Who
ways.
you got cut off there? Who went down?
Kwame Evans. In the second half, with about 11 minutes to play, he slipped and fell to the floor, and it looked really bad. It looked like he at least hyperextended his knee. I don't know if there's any ligament damage. I'll check on that and send you a DM, and you can update your audience. But I haven't seen an update on him yet.
Also, the women's team. So you have Kelly Graves has been there, what, year 12?
Yes.
So you bring back 9 players, but without the top 4 scorers. A lot of transfers.
Yeah, they brought in some really exciting transfers. I mean, this looks like a really good group. A lot of fun to watch. I think one of his best teams, a team that maybe goes back to the open court style he had when he had Sabrina Ionescu and that group. You know, they run the floor. They brought in Mia Jacobs, a forward from Fresno State, 6'2", a double gal. She can score and rebound, and she led the team in scoring in their opener. And they've got Katie Fiso to run the floor for them. I think she had 10 assists in the opener, and Avery Kane, a shooting guard from UCLA, hit a bunch of threes in their first exhibition game. Astira Tuhina, a transfer from Washington State, and she had double-digit assists in the opener, which was a one-sided game. But you know, I think they played West Georgia, which is a very low Division I school. But a lot of promise in this group, a lot of balance and floor leadership. They're unselfish, and they're going to be incredibly fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I figured today we took some other sports, and we took football, basketball,
Great.
Little NWSL.
We got it all then. No, I enjoy it. And I enjoy talking with you, and you always ask great questions. So, we can talk about anything, anytime.
Okay, so big game tomorrow. Anything else happening in Oregon sports? Anything else right now? It's really just basketball and football, right?
Really, basketball and football is the main emphasis right now. The cross country teams just won Big Ten titles. Both the men's and women's teams won Big Ten titles. That was pretty cool. Oregon won 8 across all sports in their first year in the Big Ten, and already now they have 2 with those 2 titles. And both were just like team sweeps. They had 5 or 6 runners in the top 15. It's just amazing. That's always fun to see. I think it helps elevate a program when a school takes pride in all its sports. When there's competition and enthusiasm throughout the year. Oregon's softball and baseball teams were both really good last year and went to the NCAA.
Right, exactly. It's not just football. It's not basketball.
Yeah, I think.
Did they have a lacrosse team yet?
They do. But I don't know a thing about lacrosse. One of these days you can give me a tutorial, and I can start covering that.
It's hockey without the ice. Think about it. It's kind of like hockey without the ice.
Okay, I think I played it in PE or something, and it was a lot of fun. But
yeah, it's violent.
It's violent. You give you a stick, and you get.
I know Dale was
I know
going
Dale
crazy
was
back
going
in the
crazy
day.
back in the day.
In movies, a few times I've seen Gaelic football, which is another
Yes.
stick and ball sport. And man, that looks in the movies they always make it look just vicious. I mean, they're just clubbing each other out there.
I agree. I agree.
I agree.
So
So
out there,
out
since
there,
you don't have
since
a
you don't have a
professional football
professional
team,
football team,
is it the
the
Seahawks? Basically,
Seahawks
people
basically
root for
people
out in
root for
Oregon.
out in Oregon.
It's really diverse. I think there a lot of Oregonians are transplants. So there's in bars around town. There's a Seahawks bar and a Cleveland Browns bar, and and a Packers bar and so forth. I think for a lot of Oregon fans, they root for ex Ducks. A lot of folks follow the Chargers because of Justin Herbert. A lot of folks follow Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. Uh, so it's got to the point now where there are ducks in every Super Bowl and ducks on most NFL teams. So there's always somebody to root for.
And I saw that you posted, Justin Herbert's girlfriend is now wearing duck gear.
She is. She was photographed yesterday downtown in LA, sunglasses on her head, phone in her hand, and she's wearing an Oregon Ducks sweatshirt, and it's a vintage sweatshirt, and it was a sharp-looking sweatshirt, and obviously she's a lovely young lady. So it got
Madison Beer.
Yeah, it got a lot of attention. It's fun to follow them from the standpoint as they seem like two really ordinary kids in most respects. They're both, obviously wealthy and celebrities and very famous, but she's from Jericho, New York, and he went to high school at Sheldon High School in Eugene, and they have a lot of the those values in common where they're just two kids having a good time going to the baseball game, and it's fun to see a celebrity relationship that appears to be in most respects pretty normal, between two fairly likable people who were obviously very talented in their respective uh,
And yeah.
careers.
So
I really am impressed
with
Bo Nix this year.
I mean, Justin
Herbert has lost a lot of his line.
But the
Two of them,
and Mariota's going to start this week for
the Commanders.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels was out with just a really gruesome elbow injury. If you haven't seen the
Yes.
replay, I don't recommend watching it. But yeah, Nix and Herbert are headed for a showdown. I mean, Nix has the Broncos at 7-2 with fourth quarter comebacks in his last three games, and he's a little like Joey Harrington used to be with the Ducks years ago. You play crappy for a quarter and a half, and then come on and just play like gangbusters and win the game in the fourth quarter. And Nix has a little bit of that, backyard style football about him where he's sort of improvising and making it up on the fly and, a big scramble for a first down and so on. He's really, really resourceful and tough in the clutch. Yeah. And that's why Bronco fans love him. So right now, the Broncos are 7-2, are in first place in the AFC West, and the Chargers are second at 6-3, a game behind. Kansas City is off to their worst start in 5 or 6 years at 5-4. So it's shaping up to be a fun year in the AFC West.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Tony brought up a good question. For how good Marcus Mariota was good in college,
in the NFL, the career has not gone the way we expected.
That's a fair criticism. Marcus's game was just very well suited to college football. I mean, he was a mobile quarterback, a great leader. Jerry Allen, the voice of the Ducks, used to say that he's not only a Heisman Trophy winner, he's a Heisman Trophy person. And, Mariota will always be beloved by Oregon fans because of his decency, his courtesy, his respect for others. And, from that standpoint, no matter what he does or doesn't do as an NFL quarterback, he'll be a hero out here forever. And I hope someday he's quarterback coach at Oregon if he wants to be.
Or head coach.
Or head coach.
Or head coach.
Or head coach.
I think they're pretty well set in that department. But
Correct.
for all the limitations of his career, he's always conducted himself with class as an NFL backup. He's made something like $75-80 million in his career. So how can you say he's really a bust? And he'll come on this weekend, and I'm sure that he'll play well and prepare. And if they win, he'll give credit to his teammates. So I'm not a person who would really brook a lot of Mariota's slander. Definitely, his game wasn't that well suited to the NFL. And there are a lot of great college quarterbacks who don't amount to much in the league. I mean, Johnny Manziel was a great college quarterback. Tim Tebow
Bingo.
was a great college quarterback. Charlie Ward was a great college quarterback. Notre Dame had a guy. I can't remember his last name right now. His name was Tony.
You're talking about the. Oh wait, are you talking about when they went to the national championship game?
Yes, Tony. I can't remember. I have to Google it, but
I'm gonna look him up.
Tony Brooks. I'm not sure, but anyway, he was a great college quarterback, a good leader, but in no way was his game suited to the NFL. That happens. Everybody hits their ceiling, and it's how you handle that matters.
Tony Rice.
Tony Rice. That's the guy. I mean, he was a wonderful college quarterback. Very fun to watch. And everybody hits their ceiling. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is having his struggles with the Browns. He started 3 or 4 games, and already Brown fans are wanting to play Shador and so forth. And it may come to that. I mean, Shador has talent too, but there are questions about his height and his ability to see the field and so forth. And it's tough to be a rookie starter in the NFL. It's particularly tough when you're playing on a team that's lousy everywhere. Offensive line, receivers, running backs. I mean, they have a lot of problems beyond Dylan Gabriel, and they're not going to win a lot of games. No matter, I don't think they'd win a lot of games if Joe Burrow were the quarterback. So, everybody comes face to face with their ceiling in whatever profession. I mean, I'm definitely not in Josh Pate's class as a college football spokesman, but I enjoy doing it, and I appreciate it, and I have passion for it. And if my career goes no further than getting to talk to JD Sports 1 or 2 times a month, I'm happy with that. I get to make a living and doing something I love to do.
Exactly. I got one more name I want to give you, and then I'll let you go, because I know I've had you talk a lot. Johnson with the Bucks. He lightest play in the NFL. Guy can play.
He's had a couple of highlight film moments. I mean, that diving touchdown where, the fans are screaming MVP, MVP, and he thought it was for him, but it was for Baker Mayfield. His teammates gave him a hard time about that. But then in the next game, he comes and, scores another 20, 25-yard touchdown on a screen pass. He's dynamic. He's got a great stop-start. He has a wonderful enthusiasm for the game, and he's really courageous over the middle. So I think he's more than a flash in the pan. I think he'll have a nice career in the NFL just because he's such a jitterbug, He's so tough on the crossing routes, and he ignites things, makes big plays, and fans just naturally love him because he's a little guy expressing a lot of enthusiasm. So yeah, I'm definitely a Tez Johnson fan. He was huge for the Ducks in last year's Big Ten championship.
So this is what I'm thinking. We should get together and do another show, maybe after the Washington game, or before. What do you think?
I'd be very privileged to do that, and that coincides with with the last playoff committee poll, which the one that really means something. So yeah, we'd have a lot to talk about then, and I'd love to do it, JD.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. You can follow him on Autzen Zoo, right? Give a plug.
OtzenZoo.com, on X at Autzen _ Bliss, or you can follow the Autzen Zoo Facebook page. But yeah, we appreciate all that. It's fun to, one of my favorite parts of this whole deal is just interacting with people, the sports conversations that occur. And I really appreciate it because out here the audience is mostly respectful. You don't get a lot of the flaming and nastiness you find in other parts of the country.
Yes. 100%. But if anybody comes after you, they have to get through me.
I appreciate that, JD, and I believe it.
Dale, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. Have a terrific day and enjoy.
Hey, great weekend. Go Ducks.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks.
All right, have a great day.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.